invasion of Tokyo Bay, led by Commodore Matthew Perry in 1853, upset the Japanese culture as he entered into their country. He was instructed to do this by the 13th President Millard Fillmore. Including sending Commodore Matthew Perry to Japan, President Millard Fillmore decided to give the Emperor letters, and in these letters, I quote, "The Constitution and laws of the United States forbid all interference with religious or political concerns of other nations. I have particularly charged Commodore Matthew Perry to abstain from every act which could possibly disturb the tranquility of your Imperial Majesty's dominions." Now, exactly why does this topic qualify for conflict and compromise? Well, it does have a conflict and it does have a compromise. The conflict was, during that time, the Industrial Revolution was happening, and Japan, being one of the fastest growing countries economically, they thought they were so great and powerful because they were. And because of this, they closed themselves off from the rest of the world, which led to the conflict part. Now back to what I was saying about Matthew Perry sailing in to the Tokyo Bay. Now the Japanese rejected him and threw him off the island and said, "You cannot come in here, we've told you not to." So he requested to see the emperor, and the emperor at the time was Emperor Meiji, but they know him as Sechinomiya. Now on his way to the emperor, the Japanese put up walls so high because they believed he should not see Japan. Now as Perry sailed into the Tokyo Bay on his black ships, the Japanese called the ships the Black Ships of Evil Men. Matthew Perry knew that he couldn't stand up to the Emperor of Japan at the time, so he decided to bring the Emperor some gifts in exchange for something else. He wanted to be able to walk on Japanese soil, and he also wanted to create a compromise between the two countries. The compromise was the Americans wanted to trade with the Japanese and let Matthew Perry walk in Japanese soil. In addition to giving the Japanese some gifts, Matthew Perry also let the emperor know that they were behind in the Industrial Revolution because they closed themselves off from the rest of the world. They didn't know what was happening elsewhere other than Japan. So my burning question and thesis statement is that why did the Japanese just let Matthew Perry walk in Japanese soil when he gave them a couple of gifts? Well, my thesis statement to that is he didn't just give them gifts, he gave them a recognition that, hey, you're behind in the Industrial Revolution. You close yourself off from the rest of the world, and we can't communicate with you, and you are in a very important country to this world. So they gave him back the opportunity to be free on Japan. Now, what is the Industrial Revolution exactly? Well, the Industrial Revolution was the time when machines started becoming very popular and people relied on them very much. An example of this is like in Fantastic Beasts when Jacob Kowalski was meeting the bank manager and he asked for a loan to make a bakery for some pastries. And he replied saying, "I'm sorry, but you and your bakery can't compete against the machines that can build 100 pastries while you can only bake one." Now let me tell you a little bit about Emperor Meiji. Emperor Meiji, or Meiji the Great, was the 102nd Emperor of Japan according to the traditional order of succession, reigning from February 3rd, 1867 until his death on July 30th, 1912. He presided over a time of rapid change in the Empire of Japan as the nation quickly changed from an isolated feudal state to a capitalist and imperial world power characterized by the Japanese Industrial Revolution. Now let's talk a little bit about Matthew Perry. Matthew Calvary Perry, born on April 10, 1794 until March 4, 1858, was the Commodore of the United States Navy and commanded a number of ships. He served in several wars, most notably in the War of 1812 and the Mexican-American War. He played a leading role in the opening of Japan to the west and the Convention of Kanagawa in 1854. Perry took an interest in the education of naval officers and assisted in the development of an apprentice system that helped establish the curriculum at the United States Naval Academy. With the advent of the steam engine, he became a leading advocate of modernizing the U.S. Navy and came to be considered the father of the steam navy in the United States. Now, what about Millard Fillmore, the man who sent Matthew Perry to Japan? Millard Fillmore, the 13th President of the United States, born on January 7, 1800 until March 8, 1874. He was the last member to be a part of the Whig Party while in the White House. He was a former U.S. representative from New York when Fillmore was elected as the nation's 12th Vice President in 1848. He later became president due to the death of Zachary Taylor, the 12th president. He was instrumental in getting the Compromise of 1850 passed and a bargain that led to brief truce in the battle over slavery. He failed to win the Whig nomination for president in 1852 and later gained endorsement of the Nativist Know Nothing Party 4 years later. He finished third in that election. Fillmore was born into poverty in Finger Lakes area of New York. His parents were tenant farmers during those formative years. He rose from poverty through study and became a lawyer, though he had little formal schooling. He became prominent to the Buffalo area and as attorney politician. He was elected as a New York Assembly in 1828 and later became the U.S. House of Representatives in 1832. So that is why my topic qualifies for conflict and compromise. The conflict was Matthew Perry sailed into Japan when Japan closed themselves off from the rest of the world, and the conflict was they had a treaty that let the two countries trade, and Matthew Perry let them know that they were behind in the Industrial Revolution.